Hello, and welcome to No Peeking, where I try to solve puzzles blindfolded. Today, I'm going to be attempting the Curvy Copter. The Curvy Copter is an edge-turning puzzle, so instead of turning around the face like a 3x3, it turns around the edge. Because the puzzle turns so differently than a 3x3, it will need a whole new set of algs. So, let's figure those out, starting with the edges. The edges act like centers on a 3x3. They always stay in the same spot. But unlike a 3x3, they have two stickers on them, so they can be flipped like this. So the first step is to determine which edges are flipped. After we know what edges to flip, we need to execute them. But there we run into some problems. In order to flip two edges, we can use the algorithm UR, UF, UR, UF, UR, UF. But it doesn't just flip the edges, it also swaps these two centers and these two centers. So we'll have to remember where the centers are going to be after edge execution. Also, we might end up with an odd number of edges flipped. In that case, we'll just have to flip one by tracking a whole turn. So we'll have to track 4 centers and 2 corners of movement. Now we'll move on to corners. We can solve the corners using 3 cycles, but the setup moves are too convoluted to use 3 style, so we will use a slave buffer. If you're not familiar with a slave buffer, you can check out my tutorial on how to solve a Pyramix blindfolded in the description. So I use this as my buffer, this is my slave buffer, and I can shoot to here by using FU, FR, FD, DL, FD, FR, FU, FR, FD, DL, FD, FR. And it cycles those 3 pieces. Lastly, we need to solve centers. Centers are very interesting because each center can only be in one location on each face. So on the blue face, this center can only be here. On yellow, it can only be here. On orange, it can only be here. So because of this, we have 4 different orbits of centers. So we have to solve 4 different sets of cycles. So to do that, I start with this is my buffer, then I do a rotation and use this, rotate and use this, and then rotate and use this, and then I'm done. And the alg I use swaps this, this, and this. And that is FU, FR, FD, DR, FD, FR, FU, FR, FD, DR, FD, FR. So I've got my method figured out. Now I'm going to do some attempts. This is attempt 1 at Curvy Copter blindfolded. No. Ah. No. This is attempt 9 at Curvy Copter blindfolded. This is it. This is it. Yeah, finally. 9 attempts. Finally, a success on attempt 9, but we are not done. An interesting property of the Curvy Copter is that it jumbles. So if I do a move part way, I can still continue making other moves, which completely changes the shape. And this does a couple things to the puzzle. First of all, it lets the centers go anywhere on the puzzle. So instead of having 4 orbits, we're just going to have the whole set of centers in one cycle. To deal with this, we can do swaps like this, which put centers in positions they normally wouldn't go. And we can use that kind of setups to solve all of the centers. Another interesting property about jumbling is that it allows us to purely swap edges. So we won't have to worry about tracking centers anymore, which is very nice. The biggest challenge of jumbling is getting it from a jumbled position like this back into a cube. There's not really any algorithms, so we kind of just have to track the pieces to where they're going to be. But I've got all the other algorithms ready, so let's do some attempts.
Okay, here we go. This is Curvy Copter Cube Jumbled, attempt 1. This is attempt 2 at Curvy Copter Blindfolded with Jumbling. Okay. Yes! 2449.
Awesome! I got a success with jumbling, and it took a lot less attempts than the original solve. Thanks for watching, and let me know what puzzles you'd like to see me solve. Blindfolded.